Welcome to the post credits podcast where we talk about movies after the credits roll. My name is Jesse.
I'm Max.
And I'm Logan, here from Zoom.
Yes.
And today, Lord and Miller are back with an Andy Weir adaptation. Amaze, amaze, amaze. Because this is Project Hail Mary, Lord and Miller's first movie in 12 years.
Yeah, it's pretty
Yeah, that's
crazy. At least
crazy.
ones that they've been credited to direct and write. Because I
Yeah,
know they've had some hands in the screenplays of other movies the
they've
last couple of years.
they've been doing some work. They produced a bunch. They produced the Spider-Verse movies and the Lego Movie 2, the Lego Batman movie, and Cocaine Bear.
Yeah.
In between when we last saw them in 2014, where they released the Lego Movie and 22 Jump Street.
Yeah. Were those really the last two big movies they did?
Those were the last two
Yeah,
movies
they
that
also
they
did
directed.
a
What's up?
they also did Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs.
They did do
Yes.
that was their
Remember
debut. Was
that?
Cloudy
Yeah,
with a
Cloudy with
Chance
a
of
Chance
Yeah.
of
Meatballs.
Meatballs. And then they also
Um,
were behind Mitchell's versus the
Yeah.
Machines. I think it was Chris Miller did a show for Apple TV called The After Party. It got canceled because of the strikes, but it was I heard it was a pretty good show. I never watched it.
yeah, I haven't seen it either, and I haven't seen most of Lord Miller's production work. I've seen at one point or another almost every movie that they've directed. I think I'm missing Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, which I know I saw at some point, but I do not remember. Uh, and I that their producing work I've missed out on largely. I never watched the Mitchells versus the Machines. I watched the Lego Movie sequels, Lego Movie 2 and Lego Batman movie. But never not like Cocaine Bear or any of the other things
Yeah,
that they were
I saw
involved with.
I saw Cocaine Bear. It was an interesting
I'm
movie.
sorry.
Yeah,
But yeah, so they're finally back in the directing chair, which is really really exciting because they're very energetic filmmakers, and this also feels like their first Project Hail Mary. That is, that feels like their first genuine movie. And we'll get into specifically with Project Hail Mary a little bit later, but all of their movies up to this point have had an element of parody to them. I feel 21, 22 Jump Street, pretty straight parodies of buddy cop movies. Even the Lego movie is has a little bit of a parody element to it, and Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs also has a parody with disaster movies kind of intertwined in there. So that's
yeah,
kind of
like a sense above the genre.
right.
I would say.
It's kind of been their wheelhouse for their directorial careers. But now they're back. I've said that like three times already, but they
Yeah,
are back.
in case you missed it, they're back.
They're back,
And if you missed it that one time, guess what? They're back.
They're back.
and
Guess who's? Oh wait, no, I can't do that. I can't do that. That's copyright. My bad.
they're directing an adaptation of a book by Andy Weir, the author behind The Martian, which was also adapted into a movie by Ridley Scott.
Yes,
Which did
In
we all see that too? Because I
I have
remember,
I've seen it.
I have
yeah,
not. I've been needing
I
to
remember
watch
I
it.
watched it with my dad, like when it came to broadcast on cable one time. Like I think it was the day of a Super Bowl, which is a weird detail,
Huh.
but like it maybe it was the year it came out, so
It was,
20
I mean, it would probably be it was 2015, I think is when it came out,
2015.
but I don't
Yeah.
think it came out that early. You probably would have seen it in 2016.
Yeah. Yeah, it was 2016 probably because I
Yeah.
remember that.
Yeah, so that makes sense. Yeah, I saw The Martian not too long ago, and I really loved it. That was adapted by the same screenwriter who's adapting Project Hail Mary, Drew Goddard.
Yeah, of Cabin in the Woods, Bad Times at El
Yeah.
Royale, Cloverfield. A lot of great screenplays from
Yeah,
him.
yeah, he directed Cabin in the Woods as well, I believe.
Yeah, and
And
Bad Times at El Royale,
oh,
which
really?
a lot of people haven't seen. I saw it. I thought I quite liked it.
I quite like Cabin in the Woods, but
Yeah,
he did a really great job of adapting The Martian. So I was excited to see he was coming back for Project Hail Mary, and I feel like with Ridley Scott, he has a very aesthetic style that sort of adapts to the screenplay that he is directing. Lord and Miller feel like they kind of have their own thing going on, but it feels very synergistic with Drew Goddard and Andy Weir's style, this very energetic, light style of um, writing. That being said, we should ask the question: how did we all hear about the movie Project Hail Mary?
I think I saw you probably first mentioned it, Max, when you said you were reading it for the movie, and that's when I first really actually heard about it. I saw it on your
Oh
desk a
yeah.
couple times. I saw Andy Weir on the cover. I'm like, oh wait, that's The Martian. That I remember that, and I remember really liking that. And the fact that this was going to be a science fiction space movie of the same vein, I was pretty excited from the get-go. And seeing that Ryan Gosling was in there, that made it a little bit better. I don't really remember seeing the trailer. At least if I did, it was such an offhand event that I really just don't remember it. So like I went into this like almost totally blind as far as like a movie of this advertising caliber. Like I was relatively like it was relatively unknown to me that what this was going to be about. And that's kind of like how I try to keep it that way, just like in comparison to how you guys first heard about this.
Yeah. Because I feel like the trailers for this one especially, they put something, I'm sure we'll talk about, but they put something very much in the forefront that if you read the book comes a little bit later than what the trailers I think advertised. And I guess I'll jump into this one, I guess for me. So I actually read the book before watching this one, which I didn't. I kind of planned on doing it. It was all thanks to Jesse for nudging me to order the book from Elon Belk Library. And so I read the book. I really, really enjoyed it. And obviously, I heard about this movie since its initial announcement. I've never seen The Martian, but I heard about that one. Found out who Andy Weir was fairly recently. You know, like Lord Miller, like Drew Goddard, like sci-fi, like Ryan Gosling. So it seemed like a movie that was going to be up my alley.
Yeah, so I heard about this movie, I think for the first time on the podcast. I heard about this movie before we even started, like before we even thought of the idea for the podcast, because
That's a new one.
uh
Normally, it's like research for most anticipated or
and
something.
this is a movie that came out kind of naturally in conversation. We were probably, angling towards our most anticipated at the time, but me and Max were just kind of discussing movies that were coming out in 2026, and this was very early, like January of 2025, even December or November of 2024. And Max brought up Project Hail Mary, uh,
Oh yeah, I think I did.
and he just kind of mentioned it offhand, and I didn't really know much about it. I didn't know anything about it until later when I actually looked into it. I discovered it was based on a book. And eventually, because of the trailers being so upfront about a detail that I might not have wanted spoiled to me, I decided, because I didn't trust that I wasn't going to get spoiled before the movie came out, that I was going to read the book. And that worked out really well for me. It's a very good book.
Yeah, I guess also I'll put this one in as well, but maybe it's just because of me and reading it recently. But Project Hail Mary is my favorite book that I've ever read. Maybe it's because like I guess it's more catered to me, but also like I'm not big into reading, but I really enjoyed the book. I'm not going to be one of those people that like you have to read the book before you go see the movie. I'm just like you can do both. Like you can do one or the other. Like I'm not that kind of guy, but I feel
Case in
like
point.
yeah, but I feel like the book I think did a really great job telling its story, and naturally when you do a movie adaptation of it, it's something that obviously gets very excited. At least for me, it was one of my top three most anticipated. I know Jesse thought it was gonna be my number one for the longest time because I wouldn't stop talking about the book. But yeah, it was like my number three for the year, so I was very excited for this one, even going to the beginning of the year.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, this also made my most anticipated list. This was one of the only movies to make all three of our most anticipated. I believe there are only three movies that managed to do that.
Yeah, was it this one, The Odyssey, and
Disclosure Day,
Disclosure Day?
I
Yeah.
believe, made it onto all three of
Which
ours.
I did see the trailer for prior to seeing the movie. They're like at the Cinemark where I go to, like usually when I'm home, because that's kind of where we're at right now. I see a lot more trailers prior to a movie than we do normally at our Southeast theater. So
Yeah.
here's the list of trailers that I saw
Oh, you made a
there.
list. Okay, hang on.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
I
was
had
late, so I didn't get to see any trailers in my showing.
You're always late.
Well, because
yeah.
I mean, when you work at an AMC for the longest time, it's like 25, 30 minutes of like the same crap you see on YouTube. So I'm just like, I just go later. And like, I was with one of my
That's
friends, like, who
fair.
walked in a little later. I
Yeah.
mean, I think we
But
caught like a few, but I couldn't tell you which ones.
Yeah. I got Dune 3, which was pretty cool. Young Washington, the new Angel Studios production.
Oh, I
Mario
saw
Goes
the
to
trailer for that a while
Space.
ago. Oh, Washington.
Yeah. Mario Goes to Space, which was what I wrote down. Obviously, Mario Galaxy movie.
Mario goes. That's basically what it is.
Mario
Yeah,
goes to
you got
space.
the gist.
The Mandalorian and Grogu.
Yeah,
Disclosure Day. Sheep Detectives. That's the first time I saw that trailer. And then obviously He-Man. So
yeah. So
a lot more trailers,
the, the
stuff to get excited for.
the trailers that I saw, because I also have a list, were let's see which ones I remember. The Mandalorian and Grogu.
Is that it?
No,
Just one trailer? Wow, that's pretty
The
sad. I
Mandalorian and
mean,
Grogu.
25, 30 minutes of just Mando
Moving
and Grogu.
on.
That must have been rough. I'm sorry.
Mandalorian and Grogu, Masters of the Universe, Spider-Man Brand New Day, Scary Movie 6,
Oof.
Dune Part 3,
Brand new day.
uh, Pressure. I didn't know of this movie, but Pressure,
Oh, I saw that
and
trailer
The
in front
Sheep
of mine.
Detectives.
Yeah, I got the really really edited Scary Movie 6 trailer. Like every joke they had to like cut around
They
because like
cut,
there
yeah.
were like the theater I was in was packed, which we'll get into this later, but like I love to see that, especially with this movie. But there were like
What day
8-year-old
did you
kids in
see
front of me.
it?
Oh, when did I see it?
Yeah, what day? Because I
I
saw
s-
it like on Tuesday, so like my theater was dead empty, like Tuesday
I
afternoon.
I saw it the Friday night it came out. It's like literally like I actually I saw it the Saturday it came out. Like right when I
Oh
got
yeah.
home the next day I went with my friend. And like there were like 8-year-olds in front of me, which I was like, I didn't know they could be dragged to this one.
Sure
And they're
they
playing the
enjoyed
scary
it.
movie. They're playing the scary movie six track. Me and my friend were looking. I'm like, how much are they going to censor? And I kept looking at them, and they make like the pronouns joke at the beginning, and one of the parents is like, oh. And I was like, the movie hasn't even started, and already
Uh-oh.
There's an uh-oh.
there's an
I also
Uh-oh.
saw this in a packed theater on the Sunday that it came out. So I think that Tuesday is just not super conducive to big crowds.
yeah.
Um,
Hey, did you get your popcorn
Yeah.
this time?
so yeah, I think with all that being said, we're clear to go ahead into the plot, no?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
So
ready.
jump into some Project Hail Mary. So we start with Ryland Grace, played by Ryan Gosling. And this movie is told non-linearly and a lot of flashbacks, flash forwards. I'm just going to go in the order that the movie presents it. Um, so Ryland Grace awakes from a coma in a body bag on a spaceship, and he does not remember anything. He doesn't know how he got there. He has been asleep for however long it's been. He doesn't know where he is in space. He goes to the map on the spaceship and he finds that he's in like a completely different solar system. Uh, and he is the sole survivor of a three-person crew. Ryan Grace, I mentioned it before, played by Ryan Gosling, um, who I don't think he's ever worked with Lord Miller before.
No, I think this is his first time.
Yeah, which is exciting. He's a very good actor.
Yeah, because now the usual collaborators like with Jonah Hill, Channing Tatum, I know for 2122 Jump Street and the Lego movie, if you think
Yeah,
about it.
Mhm.
yeah. I mean, yeah. I think,
Superman and Green Lantern.
yeah, definitely Channing Tatum. Oh wait, they both played in that movie. Yeah,
Yeah, there's Superman and Green Lantern.
I didn't. I Green Lantern.
Yeah, that's the
I
joke.
forget Green
Well, that's
Lantern.
the joke of the movie.
um, and then we get a flashback that kind of explains a little bit of who Ryland Grace is. He's a middle school science teacher and molecular biologist, and he learns from this person named Eva Stratt, who is barely named in the movie, but she's played by Sandra Hüller.
Yeah, of Anatomy of a Fall fame. If you guys saw that movie a
Yes.
couple years ago, got a Best Picture nomination.
Yeah,
Great to see her in this, especially in more Hollywood stuff because I thought she was fantastic in that movie. And
I,
seeing her
I,
again, yeah,
I gotta see it.
it's really good. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
But Eva Stratt basically introduces Ryland Grace to the concept of a Petrova line, which is an infrared line that stretches from the sun to Venus. Now, this Petrova line is somehow involved with the gradual dimming of the sun. And it's a very big deal because if the sun dims to the level that they expect it to dim, half of all life on Earth will die within, I think, 15 years is their estimate or something like that.
30 years.
30 years.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, that makes sense. Because it takes 15 years to get to where Ryland Grace actually is. And that line is caused by a little alien called astrophage, which means star eater. And astrophage, we don't know exactly what it's doing to dim the sun, but somehow it is, and it emits infrared light to move.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh yeah, and I can also say like there's a bit where he's teaching in the classroom. I can't remember if it was here, if it was a little bit later, but where he's passing around the hacky sack of like oh it's like lava, and like one I thought of like one of our teachers that we had, and also too it's just like that just seems like such a fun class to be in. Like Dr.
Mhm.
Grace just seems like such a cool teacher to have. Or like the cool
Then
middle school science teacher.
then comes that one student who's just a big downer on everything
Yeah,
and asks like, "Oh, is the sun dying?" And
Yeah.
it really sets up like the whole like pressure that this event is causing for everybody, for
yeah.
lack of a better term.
It gives the movie kind of an excuse to start its exposition, which is well done. You know, like exposition is necessary for a movie, and I think this movie does it fairly well, all things considered.
Yeah, because
Um,
it's explaining something that like is actually important, and it's something that I'll talk about this a little later, but like how they handle the sciencey stuff and the exploration of astrophage, I think is done really well. And I
There's a
think here
lot
it's
of
like
gravitas to it,
yeah, so it's like you understand the
like
stakes,
well
and it's
balanced.
yeah, just like you understand the stakes, but like it's not like overly scientific, but also doesn't feel like it's dumbing it down for anybody.
yeah.
At least at this point in time.
And Andy Weir, as a writer, has a very specific point on scientific accuracy. A lot of his books will go through a lot of the nitty gritty science that is involved in overcoming the impossible odds that all of his protagonists are somehow faced by with. And the kinetic way that he writes that scientific discovery makes that scientific discovery actually really exciting. And I think that's well adapted in this book as well, or in this movie. This is a movie based on a book.
Yeah. Wait, it's a movie. It's a movie.
So Grace discovers that astrophage is a single-celled organism, and other people determine that it's actually a very good fuel source. And this is all done with the aid of a security guard that's keeping Ryland Grace kind of trapped in this facility. That security guard's name is Carl, and he's played by Lionel
Played by
Boyce.
Lionel Boyce of The Bear fame. He played a
Oh,
yeah,
he's in the
when I first
bear.
saw him on screen, I was like, "Oh my gosh, it's Marcus
Yeah, I
from
literally
The
could not divest
Bear."
his image from that of Marcus.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Maybe it's because I haven't seen that much of the bear, but I only knew the two leads, or I guess the well, one of them's kind of a lead, but yeah, Ryan Gosling and Sandra Hüller.
From the actual from the movie. I thought you meant from the
Yeah,
bear.
from the movie, not from the bear.
No, Lionel Boyce is a great actor, and he's really good in this, and he's also really good in the bear. So Eva Strat comes up with this plan because they find one star in reasonable in astrological terms. It's still light years away, but within reasonable distance of this solar system that's not being dimmed, and that star is Tau Ceti. And she says that we need to come up with some way to get enough astrophage to breed it, to put it in the fuel, to get the rocket ship that'll go to Tau Ceti, called the Hail Mary, because like it's like last ditch effort, like at the end of a football game. If you're down by one score and there's not no time left, and you can run one more play, you run a Hail Mary, which is all of your receivers run to the end zone, and then you throw the ball at one of them in the hopes they'll come down with it. And that's like, okay, so the Hail Mary, like a last ditch effort.
Yeah, also Project Hail Mary sounds better than Project Long Shot. I guess. I mean, they kind of poke on that a little bit, but I feel like that's a better. It's a Project Long Shot.
Project throw the ball really far.
Project Football. Wait, this has nothing to do with football.
And Hail Mary is also a prayer, like regularly. That's the football play is named after the prayer.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, so it's a one-way trip, and Andy Weir likes playing with the idea of a one-way trip. The Martian, in a lot of ways, was a one-way trip. It was supposed to be a two-way trip, but it ended up being a one-way trip for the Matt Damon character. But this is, purely this is a one-way trip. This is a doomed expedition. This is a suicide mission. Then we go back to the present, and
It's a very Iron Lung-esque plot so far.
this movie, the biggest thing I would compare it to is actually
Wow,
Iron Lung from
holy
this year.
latency that like on my end that took like a second. You just stopped and stared for a second and then started responding. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
um,
reminiscing about Iron Lung.
This-
yeah, Iron Lung. This does feel very similar to Iron Lung, and that is something I wanted to bring up when we got to the end of it. Um, so Ryland Grace is going closer to Tau Ceti, the star that he's on, because we just learned that Hail Mary was going to Tau Ceti. Now we know Ryland Grace is on the Hail Mary and he's at Tau Ceti, and he comes across an alien spacecraft. And this happens about like 150 pages into the book or something. The book is like 500 pages long, so uh, not very big proportionally. But this happens like 20 minutes into the movie. Like
Yeah,
that's really quick.
yeah, and also like I mean, pacing wise, I think it's all well done. But also like people were freaking out that they showed the aliens in the marketing, and like if you read the book, it happens fairly early on. And honestly, like the big like emotional core of it is with Ryland Grace and this alien. And then like obviously throughout the part of the movie when that happens, it's like it's not that far, at least story wise. So yeah, that's just me. I don't know. Like, should they have shown it? I don't know. But like, how do you get butts and seats to a movie like this without showing a cute little alien? So I don't know. I don't know what I would have done differently if I was in the marketing team.
They did a funny thing like on the movie website when I was buying my tickets, they had the little alien logo on the taken seats. So that's actually how I first saw what the alien was gonna look like,
Let's say you got
which was
spoiled, but
funny.
right before you walked into the
Wow,
theater.
the Cinemark website
That's
ruined the
insane.
movie.
It's like, wait, what is that? Wait, that's a spoiler.
Oh, that's gotta be an alien or
Start
something.
punching the start punching the ticket
Yeah.
counter.
The
Um,
alien that, might I add, was almost fully puppeteered by
yes,
James Ortiz, who also voiced the alien
yeah. So
when we
so
get to that
they
point.
they used three different techniques to bring the alien to life. Most of the time, it was um, a Japanese puppeteering technique called bunraku, which allows multiple puppeteers to control one puppet. In some times it's an animatronic. They had a little robot for some of the longer, more complex shots. And then for the really complex shots, it was brought to life with CG. That's not to say this movie isn't very practical. According to the directors, there is not a single green or blue screen shot in the entire movie.
That's insane. How the hell? Like we're gonna
Crazy.
get to a part later. I'm like, how the hell do you do that without a green screen?
Like
Is
I'm like,
they
you
went
can't do that with a light
to
switch. Like, I want to see it
they
behind
went
the
to
scenes.
space in real life. They went to the green sun. They just traveled there. That's why
Yeah, Ryan Gosling's
it's
stuck
so
in
good.
space. We don't know how to get him back, but he's starring in more movies. So I guess he's
well,
fine.
yeah, but that next thing he's in is Star Wars Starfighter, so maybe it's he's still there. It just takes place there.
Oh, yeah, maybe Rylan
I
Grace
mean, he's
lands
already
on a
there.
planet.
Just might as well.
Yeah, right. And
Yeah,
just get him in all the space stuff. But no.
yeah. The post credit scene, he finds a lightsaber.
um, yeah. So the alien ship he finds is made of a solid form of xenon, and if you don't know what xenon is, it's a noble gas. Noble gases are the most stable of the elements, and yeah, you're not going to find a whole lot of solid xenon on Earth. Uh, and Grace calls it xenonite. The inhabitant of the ship is an alien from the planet 40 Eridani, which they refer to as Erid for most of the movie. And Grace names him Rocky because he's a big rock with rocky legs.
Yeah, and there's also like bits that they do a little bit before and after they finally meet, where the ship's like slowly moving, and then they show his ship slowly moving, like he's like
Yeah.
almost like chasing him, or like he goes up to there's a thing that Rocky does to try to communicate with him at first before building the bridge, where he launches like I don't know, little what do you call like tubes of like sculptures?
Xenonite.
Yeah, yeah, like tubes of xenonite. And like there's a part where like he's losing his mind. He's like, "Of course, I'm going crazy. Xenon's a gas, and let me guess, I'm being taken by aliens." And like there's a part where like he jumps out of the ship, like he catches it, and then he drops it, and then it shows a shadow of him giving like a thumbs up.
Yeah.
Of just like really funny stuff. And then finally he's able to meet who he calls Rocky.
Yes, and then begins the arrival portion of this movie. They kind of speed through it. They kind of speed through Rylan trying to figure out how to communicate with Rocky, and he starts from the common adage, "Math is the universal language," which I heard as physics is the universal language in my past, but I guess for this purposes of this movie, it's math. And so they figure out numbers.
Same
They figure
difference.
out they figure out clocks. He learns that Iridians, Rocky's species, see via echolocation. So they hear things. They don't really see them like bats. And yeah, it's interesting to me that they're called Iridians because what planet doesn't have multiple species on it? It's like we're not called Earthians.
Yeah,
I
Iridians.
mean, maybe if aliens ever come to us, they might call us Earthians.
That'd be
Earthians.
weird. And then yeah, they also don't mention this much in the movie, but Rocky breathes ammonia, which is kind of toxic to
So I
us.
about to say pneumonia. I was like,
No.
oh,
Kind
sure
of.
hope not. That movie would be over in 2 seconds.
And but then Rocky manages to get onto the Hail Mary by building himself a little ball of clear xenonite filled with ammonia.
Yeah, uninvited, might we add. And I guess it's also important to note this part, like when he's trying to figure out how to communicate with him. There's a part in this movie where, like, I would say, like, there was a part of me that was like, are they really going to show like Tim and Rocky? Like, Rocky's just going to make weird noises, but like, they immediately like they're like, no, like they gave him a voice, which I mean, I saw the trailer, so I knew that. But like, there's also a part of me that was just like, okay, like they stick here, and then yeah, like there's a bit where like they're trying to find a what like one of the bigger laughs in my theater was when like they're trying to Grace is trying to find a voice for Rocky, and it gets to the one that's like, "Hi guys, my name is Ryan." Like it does like the really like high pitched one. My whole theater just started dying like during that
And
whole
they
bit.
did like Sir Patrick Stewart voice, and then they land on the puppeteer voice actor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the biggest one that they do that they bring a lot of attention to is that Meryl Streep has a cameo as one of the voices that they reject.
Oh yeah.
They
Oh, that's
synthesize.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
Meryl Streep.
that's funny, and that was actually Meryl Streep doing the voice.
Wait, was it really?
Yeah.
Well, I would have been really disappointed if it wasn't.
I mean, someone does a really good Meryl Streep impression, I guess.
Hopefully not AI, because that would
Yeah.
have been
No,
disastrous.
that would be disastrous.
Yeah. Yeah, it builds like a little ball of like glass. Like a little hamster.
Yeah. Yeah, and then we go back to the past, which is the rejected sequel to Back to the Future.
The past. Not Spaceman from Pluto, just the past.
um, so in the past, Grace meets the crew of the Hail Mary. They are Commander Yao Liji from China, played by Ken Leung, and the engineer Olesia Ilyukina, and she is played by Milana Weintraub. Um, and then they meet the science officers, and they don't introduce the science officers by name. Um, in the book, the science officers have a little bit more to do than they do in this movie. The book actually goes into their relationship a lot more, which becomes important later, but ultimately it doesn't matter for the purposes of the movie, and it's not. It's good that they cut it out. There is like a lot of there are a lot of things in the book that they cut out of the movie. For example, Ryland Grace figures out how to breed astrophage in this little segment, and he finds out that they go to the sun for energy and then to Venus to breed. And so, by some mix of infrared light and carbon dioxide, you can make a breeding chamber for them. And in the book, in order to get enough astrophage, they make a giant breeding chamber that spans the entirety of the Sahara Desert.
It's kind of hard to put that in a movie.
They don't do that in the movie.
Honestly, I like that part of the book, but honestly, like translating into a movie, I think it would have just been hard to do. Or I don't know.
Yeah, and there's also a bit where the probes that Ryland Grace is supposed to send the solution back to Earth in. they're called the Beatles because they look like little beetles, and they're
Yeah,
named John, Paul, George, and Ringo. There's four of them, and
they're in the movie.
they're in the movie, but
Yeah,
in the book, they give a backstory to why they're called John, Paul, George, and Ringo.
yeah,
That is besides they're called Beatles, and so it's funny. They look like Beatles.
yeah.
Um,
We'll get that. They played a Beatles song. I was hooting and hollering at the theater. I was like, "Oh my god, they did it!" My friend looked at me. He's like, "What's wrong with you?" And I was like, "Wait, it's a part in the book." He's like, "Dude, who reads?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?"
yeah, so there's a whole subplot of that that is, in my opinion, not interesting to put into the movie, and the character doesn't come back. So good that they cut it out.
Yeah, because I think there's stuff that works better in a when you're reading in a book than you're seeing it in a movie.
Um, yeah, and then we go back to the future, and we meet back up with Grace and Rocky.
Yeah, and Rocky's pretty much just moved in at this point.
Yeah, completely moved in, and they are finding where the Petrova line of Tau Ceti leads, because the idea is that if you could breed astrophage with the sun and Venus, then Tau Ceti and whatever planet astrophage are using to breed probably have a similar chemical makeup, and that's pretty helpful to know. And they found the planet, and it's called Tau Ceti E, and they are trying to like figure out what to name it to give it a better name. And Rocky says that he would name it after his partner back on Erid. And he has a whole like Iridian language name for his partner. And he asks Rylan to give it an English name. And he says Adrian, after the Rocky movies, like Rocky Balboa and
Yeah,
Adrian.
I was happy that they kind of made a little Rocky reference, like Rocky Adrian, and then like I think they poke fun at it. I think a little bit later, where like he's like I am Rocky, but not that kind of Rocky or something.
Yeah, he says I'm Rocky, but not movie Rocky,
Yeah, not
the
movie
real
Rocky.
Rocky. And that's funny. Named
Yeah,
after Adrian Panino.
yeah. It's one of the things they nail so well in this movie. Like their bands, especially when Rocky first gets on the ship, and he's like, "Place is such a mess. Quite why a question?" And he's like, "Well, I wasn't expecting company, was I?" It's just like that's like every like when your mom comes in your room unannounced, and there's just stuff everywhere. It's like that's kind of what that gave off. But yeah, the two of them, like that little bit when they're talking about their is like with the romantic partners or something, and then Grace talks about he was in love with somebody left her for a guy named Mark, and then Rocky responds with "I hate Mark." It's like that's like all me and my friend were quoting after the movie was "I hate Mark."
Yeah, yeah, and so what they're trying to figure out is that like so Tau Ceti has a Petrova line. The astrophage are clearly breeding, but Rocky comes up with the idea because Rocky on his homeworld, he's an engineer. He's actually very smart. He
Yeah, I mean the sculptures.
Right.
Yeah,
He is exactly as advanced as right like as humans. That's the idea. Is that he's just as smart. And he says that there's probably a predator of astrophage on the planet in which they breed, which curbs their population, which would be the way to do artificial population control on astrophage and other parts of the solar systems. And so they devise this weird plan where the Hail Mary can't go in orbit or else it'll burn up. So Rocky makes this really long, like 5 kilometer long chain with a sampler on the end of it to try to catch a sample. And then we cut back to the present, and there's a nice karaoke scene. Sandra Hüller sings karaoke. She sings "Sign of the Times." It's great.
yeah. I was wondering why they put that song in the trailer, and then watching the movie, it's like, oh, I
It's
see.
a really good scene. It's like
It's good.
it's
Yeah,
a really good scene.
like on paper, I was like, she's singing Harry Styles, but you watch the movie and you're like,
Yeah,
you know what? That actually kind of works. Because like yeah, at this point, like you don't know her true intentions, but there's like a bit where like he's where Grace is talking to her a little bit before about it, and then obviously they're at this like bar party on the ship, and then she starts doing it. I thought it was really well done.
yeah, it was really well done. Like it was surprisingly good scene. And then there Grace and Eva are talking outside, and this is just one of the best shots in the movie. They're talking, and then behind them, you can see a building explode, but the sound hasn't carried yet, and you can see the shockwave move closer and closer to
Oh, that
them.
was so good.
Um, and
Hmm. I
then they're
always love when explosions in movies do that because I think it's usually just too immediate. So
Yeah,
I'm there's a trend like since like Oppenheimer and even before they really lean into the delayed explosion shockwave thing, and
yeah.
it's
yeah,
really
much to
cool
the
to see.
chagrin of James Cameron.
Yeah, a very welcome trend because as of time of recording, the last movie I watched was Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen, and oh my god, they explode like I mean it's Michael Bay, like what can you expect? But yeah, that movie there's other stuff in there too. But explosion wise, like I just like off the top of my head, I was thinking about that as we were talking about the explosion in Project Hail Mary, and it's just like one movie's just so tied to like realism, and the other one it's just Michael Bay schlock, and it's really nice to see that movies
Hmm.
are being more
But
lenient
the
because I think
speed of sound is like being treated with respect.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly, yeah,
I mean, the speed of sound being far too slow, but also just it gives so much more dramatic. Like it's so much more dramatic,
yeah, more dramatic
Oh
tension
yeah.
I would say too. Like once it builds
especially.
up, you're like, oh, like someone in my theater would, uh-oh,
Yeah,
different
Was it
person,
the
different
8-year-old
person.
in theater?
Yeah, it was an uh-oh theater.
yeah, no, and it just it gives your eyes a second to register, and you really feel that like when an actual disaster happens, your eyes process things visually faster than your brain processes them logically, and it gives you a second to process things logically. But then by the time that you're getting to the point in which you're kind of understanding what's happening, the sound comes in and it shakes you completely off balance,
Mhm.
and
Like it's one
suddenly
of those things like it's so good to use as a movie elements. Like why hasn't it been used extensively before like it is now?
yeah, no,
Yeah.
and I agree with you that Christopher Nolan with Oppenheimer, and you can even see in early Christopher Nolan works, there are pretty significant explosions in movies like The Dark Knight, and the sound comes in immediately.
Yeah, a lot of movies, especially in that era, did that. I mean, I just talked about one, but I guess it's welcome to see that more filmmakers are utilizing it properly.
Yes, yeah, no, it's a very very well done explosion, and I also love movies that use the background. I mean, we've been using the background since Citizen Kane, basically, but a lot of films forget that things happen in the background, and the background is often kind of used as set dressing. But when things happen in the background that come into the foreground, John Carpenter was really good at that. That was like his wheelhouse. You watch a movie like Halloween or In the Mouth of Madness, in the background, a lot of stuff is happening back there that's going to become relevant. And that shot does that really, really well. And yeah, as it turns out, the science officer and the backup science officer, who you'd imagine wouldn't be allowed to travel together, but in the book it's explained that they're in a sexual relationship together, so they go everywhere with each other. It's not described as romantic, but they seem to have an air of romance to it. And so yeah, they explode in the fire and in the explosion, and so now they don't have a science officer. Back to the Hail Mary. They're gonna try the sampler plan to try to get some predators from Adrian. And
Yeah.
so they do. They go just outside of orbit. They have the ship spinning in a weird way. And
Yeah, it's kind of like interesting because it's like the satellite bit, and then it's like three little parts. And then one part like extends forward, then kind of curves around, and then the ship like kind of moves all around. That's not how I pictured the Hail Mary, but honestly, watching the movie, I thought that was pretty cool. And like, I'm wondering how they were able to do that. Like, did they someone build like a model or something? Or like, I want to see how that was done.
yeah, I believe I haven't seen the video, but I know that Adam Savage from
Oh,
Mythbusters
I know. Yeah, I know Adam Savage.
had some backstage access to the sets of Project Hail Mary, and he has a video up on his YouTube about a little bit of behind the scenes of the production design for Project Hail Mary.
Ooh, I gotta watch
If you're
that.
interested in that, and yeah, this scene also looks just
Oh,
aggressively
dude,
beautiful.
my favorite shot in this movie is during this part. Like, I'll never forgive the trailer for spoiling it, but like sitting in the theater, and honestly, I kind of wish I saw this in IMAX, where Ryland Grace is outside the ship, he's floating, he's looking at like the green planet, and then I don't know how you do this without green screen, but then it switches color, it turns all red, and then like the astrophage like sparkles all around him. I'm like, dude, this
Yeah.
is so good. How did you even do that? And then like
Bro,
Rocky's
there's some
talking to
with
me, he's like,
mirrors and stuff like that.
yeah,
There's gotta be a behind the scenes for that. It's so cool.
it's amazing. And then like Rocky's like, oh, like, but like talking to Grace, and Grace says, oh, I'm having a moment. I'm like, I am too. Like, I felt like I just ascended in my seat watching that.
Hmm.
Like, it was just mesmerizing, like visually, like just stunning. And then
Totally.
knowing that they didn't use green screen, I was just like, how was it like a projector? Did they turn a light switch? Was it a light switch or something? Where they
They
like,
went to space in real life,
went to
like
space?
we've established.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was filmed on location.
Yeah, if you look closer, the Millennium Falcon's flying in the background, teasing a Star Wars appearance.
Um, yeah, so they they do the Hail Mary starts spinning around wildly. It's crazy. He gets the sampler. He climbs back into the ship. The ship is still spinning because of it hasn't fully escaped the gravity of the planet Adrian. And
This
um
is the epilepsy not so friendly bit.
no,
No, yeah.
No.
no, photosensitivity warning, definitely.
Hmm.
And the ship's spinning around, and it's spinning around so fast that Ryland Grace passes out, and the ship is going to be pulled into the gravity of the planet and be torn apart, and they're all going to die. But then Rocky breaks out of his little protective xenonite ball to drag Ryland Grace over to his little to a bed. Rocky fixes the orbit of the ship, fixes the spinning, drags Ryland Grace over to the bed where he has like a health robot, and then climbs back into a little xenonite chamber he made for himself, despite the fact that the oxygen atmosphere of the Hail Mary is very toxic to him.
So he's like roasting almost. Like they show like the little, like the black, I don't say ashes, but
Smoke.
like the smoke.
Well, so yeah, well, so ammonia, if we were to breathe in pure ammonia, it would burn us. So oxygen burns him. It's kind of fun, like an interesting idea.
Yeah, I mean, well, obviously morbid, but kind of like a little, I guess, back and forth of just like how that stuff works.
They do explain what that black stuff is in the book, and it's actually not ash or char. It's a healing substance that Rocky emits to rebuild parts of his carapace that have been um, damaged. So
That's
it's from
interesting.
the book. It's not exactly char, but it reads as char in the movie. And the movie doesn't bother explaining what it actually is. So yeah, it's burnt stuff. But then um, uh, Rocky says like Rocky says that he can. Um, Rocky had said previously that he could afford the fuel to bring Ryland Grace back home, which is exciting because now Ryland Grace can go back home. Um, and but Rocky is now very seriously injured. Ryland Grace is okay, and
I guess yeah, Rocky's the one that
Rocky is
isn't.
the one that's now dying. Now Grace can go home, but Rocky can't because he's dead. Um, and Grace explains that like that the predator that he found in the sample that they got, which he's called amoeba from Tau Ceti, that amoeba is nitrogen resistant, which is a problem because Venus has a very nitrogen heavy atmosphere. So he breeds nitrogen resistant strands of Taumoeba through natural selection, which is interesting. Um, and then Rocky awakes in this very big emotional scene. He wakes up and
Yay.
Yeah,
and they each get their own share of Taumoeba. And before they part ways, they don't part ways yet. Before they part ways, you get one last flashback in which it's revealed that Ryland Grace was chosen to be the science officer for the Hail Mary against his will. And
yeah.
he was actually drugged and dragged onto the ship, and even though he did not want to. Um, and that makes him really sad. And then he has to part ways with Rocky, and wow, it sucks. But then he discovers that there's a leak in one of the fuel tanks, and he doesn't understand why.
Yeah.
But he finds out that the Taumiba, because he bred them to be nitrogen resistant within a xenonite tube, they actually evolved to move through xenonite and to be able to, yeah, like it, just move through it and move through its crystalline structure, which is a big problem for Rocky because his whole ship is made of xenonite.
Yeah, it would essentially kill him. And this part, even in the book, just reading that Rylan, even watching the movie, because I think they do it really well, where he's sent to space against his own will and like thinks of himself as like a coward. Because I mean, I think it's also important to note that the flashbacks don't just happen randomly. It's him piecing together because when he wakes up, he doesn't remember who he is. I don't know if we mentioned at the beginning, but I know that was something that was obviously hinted at here and obviously in the book, where each flashback that happened, he's remembering something from his like what happened before. And just seeing his face, like when he remembers that he was put there against his will, is really sad. And also like learning that if he doesn't go back, Rocky's gonna die. But at the same time, we're stuck at this point where he can choose to either go home and Rocky dies, or he can go back and try to save Rocky.
Yeah.
And it's all done so well because like the interactions they have, like you understand a little bit about each other's past, and obviously with Grace being a science teacher, there's a little bit there. So it's all done really well. Like I really liked how that was handled.
Yeah. And he chose to go back and save Rocky. And he loads the Taumiba up onto the Beatles, sends them home, then goes to Rocky.
Yeah, I forgot what Beatles song it was that played. I think it was like "Where You're Going Home" or something. I forgot what it was. I know.
Yeah, something like that.
And if you
It's
know, like,
called
yeah,
Two of Us by the
two
Beatles.
of us. Okay.
We cut to 13 years later. We don't know that is 13 years later, but Eva Strat is visibly older. She's on a ship in the middle of the ocean, and we can see the ocean is iced over because of how the sun is cooled. And she receives the probes, and they start getting to work on fixing the problem. He has saved the world. And then we cut to Rylan Grace on Erid, and Rocky says that they've prepared the Hail Mary to go back to Earth, but Riley Grace isn't sure he wants to go back to Earth at this point. And then it's revealed that he has started teaching science to the Iridian children.
Mhm. More
Yeah.
specifically, he's in like some biosphere area
Yes.
that the Iridians built to mimic a beach that was hinted at earlier in the movie with the little simulation pod in the ship. Like him and Rocky were just on the beach hanging out, and it's really like heartwarming to see.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
even the class he has, like I think the last line of the book is 12 kids all raise their claws, showing that he's teaching the Iridians. And like at the end of the movie, like by seeing like all like the little aliens jumping up, like so excited to learn from him. Yeah, like
Mhm.
I really like. I saw some people online not liking the ending, but I thought it worked for this movie. And I
Good
guess that's
happy
it. I
ending.
mean, there's
Yeah.
no post credit scene, no
The
nothing.
credits roll on Project Hail Mary. So walking out of the theater, what did we think?
I really like that. I kind of wish I had put that on my most anticipated because I that
Was
was heavily underrated to like I underrated it in my opinion.
I see, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. On a personal level. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed that.
Yeah, I also loved the movie. I thought it was the best thing I've seen in theaters all year. And there have been some movies I've really loved in theaters this year. This was just, it was just utterly fantastic. A masterwork of almost every department that it was in. Ryan Gosling proves that he can carry a movie. And, I like Ryan Gosling as an actor, but I felt like last time he tried to carry a movie, at least that I saw, which was Drive, I thought it kind of fell flat actually, and I didn't particularly care for him in La La Land. And like I knew he was capable of great stuff because I've loved him in things, but no, he is fantastic. And Sandra Hüller deserves mention as well because she's just fantastic. She's really good at this very subtle kind of acting in which her character is very built up almost perfectly from the first moment you see her on screen, and it shows in her face. You can see it in her eyes, the decisions that she makes and why. It's utterly fantastic. Great script by Drew Goddard, amazing direction by Lord Miller. The edit was super well done. I mean, just amazing pace struck throughout the entire movie. This is a fantastic movie.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We're going three for
Cinematography
three.
wise, I don't know
Yeah.
if that's what you mentioned, especially like the scenes, particularly my favorite scene, like shots were the ones outside peering onto like the spaceships, like all the objects in space, like seeing those when you have only the light from what you can assume is the star and like the
Yeah.
way that
Yeah.
is portrayed, it's almost like almost very 2001-esque.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
cinematography,
Yeah.
by the way,
Greg
done by
Fraser.
Greg Fraser, one of the great cinematographers. Works often with Denis Villeneuve,
Yeah. Is it
and
Dune, Rogue
he did
One?
the two Dune movies, Rogue One, The Batman, The Creator, and now this movie. And yeah, he's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I'll give my thoughts on this one. Yeah, kind of like I hinted a little bit earlier, I think three for three in terms of really enjoying this one. For me, this is without question, without competition, the best movie I've seen this year. And if you've been following the podcast for the last month and a half, you know that this year for movies has been pretty rough for me.
Yeah,
So
we've kind of needed something good.
yeah,
So
it's like the
I'm
fact
really
that this
glad
movie
this worked out.
yeah. So the fact that
Yeah.
this movie come out, I can finally come on here and like give something because I feel like I felt kind of bad that I've been kind of like not so high on a lot of the movies we saw, but now
Yeah,
that
it
watching
only
this
took
one,
until late March to get there, but you
yeah,
know.
yeah, it was a journey. I mean, there were some other ones that came out that I gave positive reviews to, but like this one, like without question, was the one that I left the theater and I was like, wow, that was fantastic. As a fan of the book, it was everything I wanted, everything I'd hoped for. Um,
Yeah,
I don't even know what else to say. Like, finally, I can come on this podcast and give a movie a glowing review. And I think also what it does really well, like not trying to repeat what you guys were saying, but I think that this movie, obviously Andy Weir is a very scientific writer. I noticed a lot while reading. I've read The Martian. I haven't seen the movie, but I feel like with this one, what it does well, especially with the exploration of astrophage, is it doesn't dumb it down for like the lowest common denominator to understand it, but it also doesn't like overly complex it for like people like us that like don't aren't super sciencey. Where I
and
think
that's
this
a
movie like
hard balance to strike, I feel, for like
yeah
scientific elements and movies like this.
yeah exactly
And I think
I,
Andy Weir really carries that because I remember having the same feeling in The Martian, like even as a kid watching that, I'm like, oh, that was really, really interesting how all the science was handled there and how he used that as a way to not keep the plot moving, but how Matt Damon's character used science to solve all his problems. Like it's very slow paced, but every little thing that gets accomplished is, wow, it's really interesting. I can follow that, and that's actually a very genius way of, getting through a hardship. And I think I see this in Project Hail Mary as well,
yeah
even if like the stakes are much, much, much higher.
yeah after reviewing this one I gotta check out The Martian. I feel like from what both of you were
Sure,
saying,
yeah.
especially what Logan was saying, he's got me even more interested in that one.
Hmm.
But yeah, this movie works almost every single level. I mean, the script's fantastic. Drew Goddard is a great writer. It was a little bit nervous for me because he hasn't written a screenplay in a long time, but he came back with this one. I think he did great. Lord Miller, I didn't think at least off the top of my head, like I know them from the Lego Movie and like 21 Jump Street, which are like two of my favorite movies of all time. But like a movie like this, they really bring to life both visually as well as they're really good with how to get actors to deliver comedy in certain parts. But like it was really funny. It had some emotion. What visually was impressive, and it was a movie that was like 2.5 hours, but like I didn't feel it at all. Like I know like run times or something that I know we've had some problems with some movies that we've seen, but I think this one I didn't feel a drag. I didn't really feel any slow parts. But I don't know, for me, like I thought this was fantastic. Like I
Yeah.
really thought this was a great movie.
Like
Yeah, I feel
moving on, I or what are you gonna say?
No, I was just gonna say, I feel like there are slow parts in every movie. It's just a question of whether those slow parts stand out to you when you come out of the theater, because there has to be
Yeah, I
some
get.
time to think and contemplate. I don't remember being bored a single time. I'm sure, like, it's you can't keep someone's attention for 2.5 hours.
Yeah, especially with the way our generation is run.
But
I don't want to sound like my dad's like, oh,
Yeah.
your whole generation.
but I don't remember losing interest and I don't remember being bored. And that's something that's impressive in its own right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
now you can go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say like going back to the difference between reading the book before watching the movie and not even reading the book and then watching the movie because this is something that I thought about saying later during the explosion scene because you mentioned in the book that there were two scientists or people that died there that what were they like what were their roles?
Science officers and the science officer backup.
Science officers. So you mentioned that in the book they had like a relationship in the background that wasn't at the forefront in the movie. And that kind of reminded me of how the relationship between Matt Hooper and Brody's wife was left out in Jaws. Because
Mm.
Oh,
after like seeing Jaws for like a million times, I finally read the book and like there's so much interesting stuff that was left out of the actual movie that was in, the book, but it doesn't take away from, either of those experiences, I feel. And like seeing from your perspectives, how do you feel the book in comparison to the film?
I I thought this was a really good translation. I feel like with the sciencey stuff, kind of like I said, like I feel like they found like the perfect balance of how to be scientific but not be like too complicated or too mainstream. And I think that some of the parts they cut out, I think, merit themselves being cut out. So I think if you're going to bring this book into film form, I think this was a. I thought this movie did a really good job at doing that.
As far as I'm concerned, this is the 2.5 hour visual version of the book. Like every adaptation of the book that I've heard of is great. The book itself is fantastic. I've heard really good things about the audio book.
Oh yeah, Ray Porter.
But this is the
What was that?
movie version of it. The
What was that?
the images that I came away with from the book and the images that I came away with from the movie are almost the exact same. And I can almost never say that. I really feel like you you get something different out of watching and reading. Like they're distinct in their art form and in the way that they are telling their story, and such that you will have a different experience watching and a different experience reading. That being said, this is a really fantastic adaptation of the book. Like if you just watch the movie and you just care about getting the story and having a good time, you can literally do either. They are both really, really, really good, and it's totally worth it to watch, like to consume both. As for which one you should do first, I don't know. It depends on where your priorities are, but the movie is just a fantastic adaptation, and all things considered.
Yeah,
Good
I
to
agree.
hear. Yeah. Anything else that we want to say?
I mean, what do we not want to say? I want to get
I,
back to the Iron Lung comparison I made at the beginning.
yeah, I thought that was an interesting
Definitely. Yeah.
comparison.
So and this is a thematic level, and I don't typically like to go in and rant about thematics when I hop on the podcast, but um, what we have in Iron Lung is a one-way journey that the main character doesn't know is a one-way journey necessarily, but suspects that it is. Um, and it has this very cosmic despair about the current human state of affairs that is bookended by a hope. It begins with the hope that the convict Simon, played by Markiplier, will gain his freedom and be able to go back and live on a space station. And spoilers for Iron Lung coming up, but it ends with Simon the convict dying, but his um leaving enough for humanity to survive, leaving hope that either the quiet rapture will be erased or in some way humanity will be able to gain back what they lost in the Quiet Rapture. And I feel that a lot of that same hope, uh, the hope interplay with despair, is very much present in Project Hail Mary as well. There's a sense of cosmic dread that begins this story, um, because this is something that it is dimming the sun, the fundamental being of life and light in our solar system is dying. That's hard to comprehend that the sun could die, but it is, and that's how the story starts. But it ends with this infectious hope that not only did we fix the problem, because that's not really the point of the movie. The point of the movie isn't that we fixed the problem. Yes, very good. We solved the sun dying, but we care about the relationship between Ryan Gosling and Rocky, and that hope carries itself through the ending where we see Ryan Gosling, who has been set up as nothing but a reject on Earth, find companionship across the galaxy in the face of the cosmic horror that we're seeing. And I think that the interplay with hope and despair on a cosmic level is similar between the two movies. Although the companionship element, I think, is more in Project Hail Mary and less in Iron Lung. But they both have a very interesting way of doing their um, their cosmic core and their cosmic hope. Project Hail Mary, very scientific and grounded. Iron Lung, very supernatural. And they both work very, very well.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't immediately think about that, but like now that you've
Yeah.
said it, I actually do see a lot of parallels between the two. I mean, obviously in execution, there's a lot of differences there, but in terms of that stuff, I mean, yeah, I mean that's a comparison I didn't even think about watching this one. I mean, obviously I've seen Iron Lung, but yeah, that's interesting. I really
And
not.
if you do
I
want
guess
to,
I didn't think about that. I guess is what I should say.
yeah, if you do want to hear our full thoughts, especially the more negative ones that, me and Max have of Iron Lung,
That I
if you
had.
want to like compare our reactions to that than to this, then, we have that episode out. So, yeah,
Yeah.
not trying to be negative of Iron Lung in this thing, but
Yeah, and I'm not
just
I'm
want to
not
like
either.
focus
Like,
on, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, no, and ultimately, as someone who really loved Iron Lung, I find that a lot of my thoughts coming out of it are the same. I'm tickled in the same way with Iron Lung and Project Hail Mary. They scratch a similar itch in my brain, although I think that one of them is a little bit more thematically dense, because it's using, and I don't want to say because it's using, because it's using horror to its advantage and the fear that we have of the unknown, whereas Project Hail Mary is kind of taking the impossible and making it possible. Iron Lung is sort of taking the impossible and acknowledging that it's impossible. There's nothing that we can do about it other than fight back in the ways that we can. But ultimately, yeah, I think they're very similar movies, which is kind of weird to say. That being said, if you liked Iron Lung, it is in no way any sort of assurance that you're going to like Project Hail Mary. There are different
Yeah.
movies in everything beyond the
Mm.
thematics.
Yeah. But
And
there's
if
a
you
lot there,
didn't
I
like
think that
Iron Lung, the same thing.
yeah.
Yeah,
Because I think that there's a
Yeah.
lot there that they do have a lot of parallels in that sense. I mean, obviously I think in Iron Lung where Markiplier's character, he doesn't necessarily have a companion to him, but there's a speaker that talks to him.
right.
So I think there's a sense of that, but obviously the dynamic with Dr. Grace and Rocky is obviously like it's more rich. Obviously, you get time to really build that out. But I think in Iron Lung, I think that comparison I think actually makes sense of just like they're both people isolated in certain
Like the
places.
companionship doesn't carry the movie in Iron Lung as it does in
Yeah,
Project Hail Mary. I think that's the main difference to me.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, and I also think that cosmic hope is present in all of Andy Weir's works. I don't know anything about Artemis, so I shouldn't say all. I should say the two that I know about, because it's the idea that you're in an impossible situation and you're going to make it possible, and you're going to do that through science is Project Hail Mary, and that is The Martian. They're very similar movies. Project Hail Mary is better. I think The Martian is one of the great sci-fi movies of the decade. Project Hail Mary, I think, is better. It's so stylish. It's so well executed. it's every single part of this movie is firing on all cylinders, and it you can really sense just the fun that they had making this movie. It's made with so much care and love that they didn't want to replace a single part of any of the movie with anything not that wasn't so delicately done by the creatives working on it. No green screen shots. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, especially we were talking about that one day earlier. I was sitting in
Crazy.
the theater. I was like, how? Like, how do you do that? Like, I want to learn how to do that. Just like bringing that stuff to life. But I think also
Yeah.
with me, like for me with this movie, this is probably one of the best movies I've seen this entire decade. I mean, I can only think of a select few that I might like a little bit more, but like this is up there for me. I can't even really think about anything that I didn't like about it.
Yeah.
It's
It's mainly
crazy.
like yeah, it's mainly like when I rank it, it's like what do I like better? Like it's really hard for me, and especially even with Lord and Miller's work. I mean, they've directed so many of my favorite movies of all time. Like it's hard to really compare it. I feel like
It's crazy, like coming full circle on the introduction of VFX as something, more common in movies nowadays. Like when it first started, everyone's like, "Oh, what? How did they do that? Like it's so technologically advanced. It's so cool." And now we're coming back to like more practical effects and like moving away from VFX and green screen, that sort of thing. And we're like, whoa, how did we do that? It's almost more impressive that
Yeah.
we're able to do these like really advanced and really cool looking things without having to rely on CGI. And I hope that's a trend that, Hollywood picks up on more.
yeah. I agree. Yeah, there's a guy I follow on social media that makes like little mini miniatures and does like little short clips of them. Like it looks really impressive, and I think that like I always say practical over digital, even though sometimes like using digital can sometimes be easier. But like oh, I think watching
Oppenheimer.
yeah, Oppenheimer. To where I think even like watching a movie like this just like shows how even like with the design of Rocky himself of just like practical effects can really carry a movie and like really help somebody be immersed in it. Someone tell that to George Lucas when he was making the Star Wars prequels, because my God, the second one was Attack of the Clones. I think
Yeah.
literally looks like it looks like a
Yeah.
computer. Like the whole movie, it just feels like
It
George
looks like
Lucas. Like
Polar Express.
yeah, the
Yeah.
Polar Express.
Yeah. Attack of the Clones. If you've ever seen the Pixar animated short Beach Chair, you get about as much as out of that as Attack of the Clones.
Yeah,
Yeah.
um, yeah, let's also talk about the release and reception of this movie because we're not alone in saying that we loved it. This is in the top 100 highest rated movies on Letterboxd, which is not something you can normally say, you know, when this has almost a million ratings.
that's especially for a new release. Like
Yeah.
not often. I mean, obviously we haven't really had this part on the podcast before, but like for a movie like this, like I think this is the first time this has happened, at least with the new release,
Yeah,
at least that
and
we've covered.
yeah, and I mean certainly they don't tend to stay on the top of 500 long. The top 100 even less so. But yeah, this is also, I mean, it's very, very well reviewed, hugely successful. This is the largest, like the highest opening gross for an original movie since like Avatar. Like that's how just ridiculously good this is doing.
Yeah.
I
Um,
mean,
Never
the
forgive.
advertising, the whole campaign for that, that surely play as much as it didn't reach me on part because of my decisions, but as from what I've heard, it was really, successful in that vein.
and I think Andy Weir is building himself a brand as an author that might only be matched by Stephen King in the modern day.
Yeah, he's only written
Um,
he's
Like
only written like
Cormac
three books.
McCarthy
he's only written three books,
level.
but
That's
look,
insane. Yeah. No, like I mean that like a good like it's insane that like he's
Hmm.
being hailed like that.
I like going to
Quality over quantity.
For sure. And look,
Yeah, quality over
I
quantity.
like going to bookstores and I find myself in a lot of airports. And in both of those locations, the books that are selling the most is Project Hail Mary, are
Yeah, that's
books
true. Yeah.
written by Andy Weir. People really, really like Andy Weir. They really, really like his books and they really like the movies that come from his books. It's a really fascinating phenomenon to behold. You know what actually sells a movie. It used to be the actors. Now it's different people. Now we have people like Andy Weir building themselves brands and you're able to make a movie that makes over $140 million opening worldwide, like in basically an original story, because the author is really famous. The directors,
Oh, Lord Miller has been around a long time. Or
uh,
maybe not that long,
I
but
mean, they've been around for like 15 years, but in that time, they've made some incredibly beloved movies. 21 Jump Street, the Lego Movie. They're producers on the Spider-Verse movies, which are consistently
Cloudy
hailed
with
as
a
among
Chance of Meatballs.
yeah, Cloudy with a don't forget Cloudy
Cloudy
with
with a Chance of
yeah,
Meatballs. How can I forget?
an essential classic.
Did they do the second one?
They did the story for it, and I think they might have produced it.
Yeah, they did the same with the Lego
Uh,
movie too. I think, although I think they were
Yeah,
actually credited screenwriters for that one.
I think that they were a little bit more involved with Lego Movie 2 than Cloudy 2. Um, yeah, they didn't. They wrote Lego Movie 2, but they didn't write Cloudy 2. They did produce Cloudy 2 though. Oh yeah, they also were supposed to direct Solo, the Star Wars
Yeah,
story.
not supposed to. They did, and
Yeah,
then
they
they were
directed.
fired.
They
Yeah.
directed most of it. Then they got fired. No, this is
Crazy behind the scenes stuff with the two of them.
this is something I've learned recently. But nobody has ever gone on record to say exactly what has happened with Solo, a Star Wars story, and how Lord Miller got fired and replaced with Ron Howard
Yeah,
half of the way,
yeah.
halfway in.
Apparently, with I don't want to go too much of a tangent, but apparently with the actors on set, like their main thing that they wanted to bring to the table with that movie for some reason was improv and do like 20 to 30 takes, which is really expensive, especially for a Star Wars movie, of just like having actors riffing. And then there was an article that came out that said like the main actor, Alden Ehrenreich's performance more resembled Ace Ventura than Han Solo, which is like Jim Carrey and Ace Ventura. And the guy who wrote the script is like Lawrence Kasdan, like Star Wars legend, wrote the screenplay. So he's like, obviously, I would be
just
pissed
sitting there
too.
like,
I'm just like, oh yeah, just do whatever. Yeah, we'll be
yeah.
here. Like, why for a Han Solo movie? Like, why?
But yeah, I would say the future for sure is bright for Lord Miller. They said they've expressed interest in doing an adaptation of Artemis, which is another Andy Weir novel. Supposedly they wrote it but couldn't figure out how to put it to screen. They're executive producing a movie coming out that we both saw the trailer for before we saw this movie, The Sheep Detectives.
Oh, they produced
And
that?
they executive produced The Sheep Detectives.
Yeah, that was one of the two trailers I saw when I was seeing this movie.
And yeah, so like they're doing a lot of stuff.
One of the seven I saw.
Ryan Gosling's doing a lot of stuff in the future. Like this is just a really good jumping off point, and every single person that worked on this movie is someone that I want to keep my eye on moving forward.
Yeah,
That's just how good this movie is, because it really is just utterly fantastic.
yeah. And you
Yeah.
know, when they made the little Beatles reference and they played the Beatles song, that didn't mean I wanted Greg Fraser to go do the cinematography
Was that
for
a
all four
whole
Beatles
star
movies.
rating for you
What
because
is
of the
that?
Beatles song?
Me?
The Beatles song, yeah. Does the Beatles song bring it up a whole star?
I mean, in terms of me being in the theater, it certainly helped a little bit, but like just being there because like at the beginning of the book, it says for John, Paul, George, and Ringo,
Yeah, that's
and
dedicated.
but like dedicated to. And like watching the movie, I was like, oh my god, there's the Beatles song. And then my friend looked at me, he's like, what is wrong with you? And I was just like, what? He's like, this isn't Endgame. What are you doing? And I was like, dude, this is my Endgame. I read the book. He's like, what does that even mean? And but I don't kind of, but like also like when you talk about the movie itself, I mean, it's just there's so much to praise. I mean,
Yeah.
I hope to God this gets Best Picture next year. I don't. After watching this, like at least I could say that I hope it does. But
Yeah, so I don't like saying that a movie is among the best of the year before the year is over, because how do I know? But what I will say, and this comes credit of my favorite critic, William Bibiani, um, if 10 movies released this year that are better than this movie,
Yep.
such that this will not be in my top 10 of the year, this will be a fantastic year. That's how good this movie is. That I don't see 10 movies coming out that best this.
but yeah,
That's our
I've heard
fun
that before.
cameo
Yeah,
for the
I've heard that
episode.
before. That yeah,
Yeah.
the if 10
Yeah.
movies are better, because I was gonna say that earlier. Like if 10 movies come out that are better than this one, it would be the best year for
So
movies
far,
ever.
so good. We're at
Yeah,
Yeah, and
zero.
this is the second 5-star movie I've seen this year and the better of the two.
this is my first, I think. We'll get there.
So yeah, well, let's get
Well,
there
actually,
now.
well, yeah,
well,
we're
well,
here. We're
We're
here.
here.
We're
Yeah.
at ratings.
Welcome
We're
to the
here.
post credits podcast.
Wait, so what happened earlier?
So yeah, ratings. 5 stars.
5 for me as well.
5 stars. Yeah, five
Ooh,
stars.
this is the second movie with all
Yeah.
around fives.
Yeah, I think it
First
was
one
Marty
is Marty
Supreme.
Marty Supreme was the
Supreme, right?
first.
Yeah, this makes the
Yeah.
second. Wow.
Um, yeah, this is so good.
Yeah,
We really
I
needed it though too. Like as I've said before, like
want to watch it again.
just flop after flop after flop, and then just this. Like it's such a breath of fresh air.
Yeah. Because I was thinking in the podcast for a while, I was just like, am I just like the cranky guy that doesn't like movies? Or and then I watched this one, I was like, okay, maybe it was just a rough patch for me. But like watching this one, I was like, all right, may, I don't want to say it's all me, but like I didn't want to be like the grouchy one and be like, this movie sucks and everything about it's terrible. Like, I don't like to be like that,
Although
but
it is still fun when we're in that mood because it still makes for
yeah.
good episodes.
Yeah, it makes for good conversations.
Yeah, and look, I mean, like I've definitely seen my fair share of stinkers this year. You can go back to some of our
Mercy.
some of our episodes of the post credits podcast, and there certainly have been movies that I've disliked. I don't think my year has been quite as bad as it's been for either of you, because there are at least two movies here that I've given close to a five that neither of you liked in the slightest. Um, so
Watch your previous episodes to find out which ones those are.
Yeah.
yeah. Uh,
If you are curious, go back and listen. To all of them. They're really good.
But yes, to
I
be fair,
promise.
those were also the movies that I was excited for at the beginning of the year. And like
Yeah.
I kind of expected to
So
like them.
far,
This is a movie that I wasn't hugely excited for. This was
I was
not
sur-
super high on my most anticipated.
I was
Even
surprised by that. I was surprised you didn't have it a little higher.
even after reading the book and even after, hearing about it and seeing a trailer for it, it still wasn't super high on there. I didn't have a lot of trust in it, but I should have because this is really, really, really good.
we
Yeah.
need to do a end of the year thing where we take our most anticipated top 10 and then like calculate the average star ratings for them and see who has the highest,
That's a good idea.
Oh, wait, that I
Who
like
has
who has
that.
like the
Yeah. That's a good
best,
idea.
most anticipated of the year.
That is a
Yeah.
very good idea.
Because I think top 10 would be easier because obviously like
Yeah.
yeah. I like that. Yeah, that's a really good idea.
Yeah.
We should see who had the most stinkers. Which I feel like top 10, we'll see with mine because I've been on, I feel like some of mine, I mean, we haven't seen one of them, but I know the other one
Yeah.
we did see.
So
And then
yeah,
some of mine aren't even coming out this year, so yeah.
yeah. Rip to the entertainment system is down.
Yeah, and the release date for that is down.
Yeah, it's not coming out until next year.
That sounded clever in my head than it did out loud, but
Yeah. Shall we move into letterboxed plugs?
let's do it.
All right,
Sure, yeah.
My letterboxed is Threnv. That is THRNV, like the sin. I have Project Hail Mary, my review for it, up, and I also have a review for the sequel to the first X-Men movie. So this would make it the second X-Men movie. I watched X2 recently. See my thoughts on that.
Yeah. So for a second, I thought you were going to say I'd review the sequel for Project Hail Mary. I was like, how?
Yeah, Project
Does
Hail
it
Mary 2.
exist?
I got early access.
Electric Boogaloo. Yeah, my letterbox plug, same as it's always been. MJ Spiegel, that's all lowercase MJSPIEGEL. The latest movie review I have is for Project Hail Mary. If you want to see a little bit more of my thoughts on that one that I didn't say up here on the podcast, I am working on a few rankings that are coming up in the next couple days, weeks, months, whenever I get to them. One of them is ranking every movie in the Wizarding World series. Recording this over our spring break, I flew through all 7 of the Harry Potter movies. I still need to get through Fantastic Beasts at some point. And then I'm currently suffering my way through the Transformers films, so I'll probably be ranking those as well. So be on the lookout for those.
And yeah, you can find me on Letterboxd at Invaded Films. That's INVADEDFILMS. Same as always, as previously mentioned by Max. And I'm still on my streak of just random movies that I'm reviewing, stuff that we don't necessarily review or talk about on the show. I don't really have one in my mind as of the time of the recording, but when this like comes out, then I'll probably have something. I don't know. It's still spring break for us right now, so maybe
Well,
I'll find something.
don't sell yourself short. You did watch Aqua Teen Hunger Force: movie film for theaters.
I did, and I do have that reviewed as of now, so
Yeah, if you're
highly
curious about how that
recommend
one was.
if you're a fan of hour and a half long episodes, which is basically what that was. But yeah, I might watch the sequel, Plantasm, and put that on there. You have a lot of options.
Yeah. Sounds very, very good. And if you have anything to say about what we said in this episode, good, bad, negative, positive, you agree, you disagree, you think we missed something, you think we said too much, you have a fun fact, share some fun facts, or you just really, really, really want us to review an obscure movie from, I think, 2008 about aliens in somebody's attic. Yeah, you
Oh
leave
yeah.
that in the
What makes
comments.
you say that?
The comment section. Yeah,
I wonder where that came from.
we'll read your comments. We'll respond to them. We'll have a little bit of a discussion, and who knows, we might even review a movie about aliens hiding
Mhm.
in your attic.
Yeah, or if there's any other movies you're curious about us talking about.
The
Well,
comment section has power in this
It has
on this show.
significant power in
Significant.
this
yes,
economy. Let's just say,
yes, it does.
if you take the time to write words under our videos, we are at your mercy.
Mhm.
With all that being said, roll credits.